Welcome. Welcome to Shop Talks, which is a production of the Ink Kitchen, which is what I'm from, which is a free online media source. And thanks to Impressions, who are sponsoring this. Thanks to Haynes, generous sponsor. And we're going to talk about online stores and fulfillment. Got Brett Bowden from Printed Threads, Eric Solomon from
Night Owls.
Night Owls. I always get it wrong. Night Owl. Is it Night Owl Printing?
Thank you, Rick.
We'll say it a lot instead. Night Owls. And Pam Ikegami, who runs Doing Good Merch for Mirror Image. All right.
So rare to see owls in the day.
So we're going to, I'm going to ask a few questions. I'm going to talk a little, then we'll leave time for questions from the audience, and then they'll all be around afterwards for shy people to ask questions of them. All right, so online stores, good idea? And why?
Define online store, please.
No, I think there's a lot of versions. That's one thing to get into. Maybe each say what kind of online stores you're running and how that's working out.
So we run about 25, 30 stores. We don't do print on demand, so we're warehousing goods and we're shipping out for our customers as their sales come in. We run stores for bands, record labels, clothing lines, artists, all sorts of different things. I think we even have like a perfume line. So we do all sorts of weird things, but it's been really lucrative for us, but we have a whole dedicated staff for it, which I think is a little bit
different. And how long
have
you been doing it?
We've been doing it at Night Owls for about 5 years now.
Okay. And Brett, what's your operation look like there?
Well, currently my operation looks like a little kid with dangly feet. I'm a tall guy. It's just rare for my feet to be dangling.
Why don't you just stand and walk around like normal? Let's go sit in the crowd.
We have, for our fulfillment side of the business, we have, I don't know how many online stores, but a handful, more than one handful, several handfuls of online stores. We have one very large clothing line that we operate, quite a few rock bands and several other entities, whether that be a kind of charitable organizations and that style of thing. Anything from people that ship pieces or ship large quantities into large big box retail stores.
And how long have you been doing it?
We've been doing fulfillment probably for about 5, 6 years, something like that.
Okay, Pam, what are you operating?
All right. So at Doing Good Merch, runs stores for a lot of nonprofit organizations. So we do the store for Amnesty International. We have a store for New Orleans Musicians Clinic, New England Sustainable
Farm Aid.
Energy. Oh yeah, Farm Aid. Things like that. We also have a employee uniform store for a big dispensary that operates in our state and other states. And what else do we?
All right. And also we do just fulfillment for the regular screen print customers, right?
Correct.
All right. So as you get into this, what are some things that were easier than you thought, and what are some things that have been very challenging? Just for maybe people that are not into it and to know what they're in for.
I think getting customers to these stores is pretty easy, but maintaining those stores and maintaining their expectations is pretty difficult. Everyone that has come to us, for the most part, everyone wants to have a store and they want to have 400 designs. But if you're doing DTG, print on demand, that works great. But if they want to print and store, well, that opens up a whole other can of worms that you have to learn how to scale that. The worst part about fulfillment is the space that it takes. It's not easily scalable because, if you want to bring in, let's say you start with like 3 designs. Well, now you have a customer that wants to bring in 500 designs. where do you store all of them? How do you designate what sells and what doesn't? So there's a lot of pitfalls that I think the average person that wants to come and open a store, they don't think about, and it's not they don't need to think about that. That's our job.
It's funny about the space. I just visited a place, Liberty Graphics in Maine. It was like a rabbit warren. Like they had stored stuff just in these like old barns and sheds, and like it just what looked like utterly and absolutely out of control.
You find any space available, and you just cram it full of stuff.
Brett, what's worked out? What was easier? What was harder as you've got into this? And was it planned, or did it happen sort of organically?
I think for us it was organically. It was you start printing for someone or an organization or someone that's growing. They grow into something and they start asking for the service, and so you figure it out. And our biggest client, they grew into fulfillment, and as their fulfillment operation grew, we grew with it, and we started learning how to do it better and with them. I think the easiest part about it was making lots of mistakes, and learning from those mistakes was more challenging. I think with fulfillment, you can lose money really, really fast. U.S. shipping. U.S. mail shipping, as you know, shipping one shirt maybe costs $3.50 or something like that. So you ship one shirt incorrectly, the cost to ship that shirt back and then ship the proper shirt out, now you're out $7 or whatever. That's a
Not
whole
to
lot
mention
of money.
the return processing time, like your staff to do that and figure it out. And then whatever inventory issues you might have too starts to exponentially grow. So one problem isn't just one problem. It's now 30 different problems that you all have to figure out, and it's on you to figure out. No one else is going to do it.
Seems like customers are not that understanding on the whole either. They somehow think it's like when they go and mail one thing, they got it right, and then you mailed out 13,000 things in a week, and you got 3 wrong, and somehow they're like, how could you get that wrong?
Well, it's weird. You know, I see a lot of other companies that aren't like us, that, you know, we have perfect shipping records. We ship within 24 hours. Where, you know, Amazon is very, very near and dear to our heart, which it's a joke because nobody can do that. But that's what everyone thinks, right? Everyone thinks that your business is Amazon, and that's a very, very big problem for smaller businesses like ours.
It's also a big plus that we're not Amazon, I might mention. So Pam, what was easier about, you were kind of thrown in the breach, right? Want to describe the process of the doing good merch stores and how that was planned out for like decades?
Yeah, well, we started doing good merch, I think in 2017 with the Amnesty International store. We do a combination of DTG and screen printing, things on the shelves, depending on how well certain designs sell. So that's always a little bit of a tough spot to figure out where that point is. We don't have it dialed in of like, okay, we sold 7 dozen of this shirt last quarter, so we're going to screen, you know. That would be wonderful to do it that way, but it's not exactly how it's working out. The other thing that was very challenging was to figure out how to aggregate all of the shipping into something that was going to be an easy way for a fulfillment person to get the orders out. Because we run, all of our stores right now are on Shopify, and yes, you can sort of do one login and go from store to store and fulfill out of Shopify, but that's a very inefficient way to do it. We use ShipStation. That way I have all of the stores in one interface, and it's very easy for the person doing fulfillment to see what needs to go out, how long it's been waiting to go out, and dialing in the postage and things like that.
I think an unexpected thing, you know, you mentioned that about maintaining the inventory. Even if you do on demand, you have to maintain the inventory of blanks, or you have to, in this environment that we're in now with COVID, monitor all the time whether your distributor that's going to send stuff into you is going to have the stock.
I think that, you know, technology in these instances is really such a benefit. You know, much like how QuickBooks kind of changed things for accounting, right? Like, there's so many tools out there for e-commerce stores, for selling platforms like Pam mentioned, like Shopify, ShipStation for shipping, but there's a whole bunch of other resources for inventory and warehouse management. And as you grow and as you scale, if you don't have that, you just start to lose so much control of everything.
I think one thing for us is we have a person that is just really smart with software that works for us, and that's all he does is concentrate on software and dive in. There's so many even Shopify and ShipStation are extremely powerful, but you really have to dive in and understand all the tools that are within those software services. And then there's so many more software platforms out there that can be used, like SKU Vault, and there's some more software services available for fulfillment in our industry that are available out there that could be used, and we've jumped from platform to platform to see if what could be used. Some are very expensive. We've used some that cost $2,500 a month, or we've used some that cost $100 a month, and trying to figure out which one is the best for our entity has been difficult and very time consuming.
I know one thing that's difficult for us is we have customers who we run an online store for them, and we also ship bulk orders for them that they order through the office. And coordinating that inventory has been super challenging.
That leads me to something, though. I don't know if you've found. We do half contract and half direct to customer. And I notice all my contract customers that are ASI people that have millions of dollars, literally, all had lots of company stores. It's a really good business to get in if you can do it, that's for sure. And it's been more lucrative for us than I even expected. The other is, it seems, I don't know if you found this, I'd like to hear your comments, but it seems like we've locked people in. So where we might have had to bid jobs with certain customers, if you have their store, suddenly they just send you orders. And they also, when you're selling retail for them at 25 and you tell them a bulk order's 12, suddenly they're not arguing the way they did when you used to tell them 5.
That's been a big thing that we've noticed in the past couple of years, where we really start to partner with these customers that we're doing stores for, but we're starting to control a lot more of it. So quite honestly, with fulfillment, we probably make, I don't know, it's, in the grand scheme of things, not very much. Let's say we make a $20,000 a year profit from fulfillment, but that doesn't account for all of the production revenue that we get from everything we make. A lot of our stores, 90% of them, we have written in contracts that we have to produce everything. There's certain things like record labels, we're not going to go out and produce vinyl records or CDs, but any merchandise, we're controlling that. And we're not double dipping, but we're taking profits from the production as well as from fulfillment. But it's a benefit to them too, because it's literally traveling 15 feet from our production floor to our warehouse inventory.
I think, remember the pandemic? Remember in the beginning when the coolest thing to do was fundraiser stores, and that was obviously really necessary for a lot of us to survive and a lot of businesses to survive. But the one thing that was really eye-opening about that experience was that we controlled so much of that process, and there was so much, even though we ended up giving so much money away, it opened my eyes to realize that there's a lot of money to be had even in that experience, to where we can really roll out and launch that kind of fundraising thing later on and bring a lot of money back in-house and still be able to write a check to somebody, and they walk away with still a sizable amount of money. We make a lot of money. And then the little problems that we normally see in a print run, where it's we're very critical about our QC process when that shirt looks very slightly different than that shirt or whatever, and when a customer opens a box and there's 100 shirts sitting next to each other, and that doesn't matter when they all go to a different person. And so you get to save a little bit of your QC process there.
And then another thing I've noticed, Rick's favorite pet peeve of people who don't like to pick up the telephone and make a call and talk to somebody in the office. For organizations, will go online and order bulk orders of the $25 shirts that they could have picked up the phone and ordered for $12.
That's right. Yesterday, one of our organizations, the person just ordered at retail price 30 or 40 shirts. All right. Thank you. just poll the room here. How many people already have lots of stores or have a bunch of stores? How many people are thinking of starting stores?
How many people don't have hands? That was a surprise.
That was a poorly responded to poll. All right, I know what I want to ask about. What about the materials that you use to package and stuff? Some people, think it's really wasteful, whatever. Have you done anything about the ecology of all this?
It's super wasteful. It's super, super wasteful. So in our facility, anytime a job is going into our fulfillment side, it does have to be folded, bagged, and barcoded. We are looking for like eco-friendly bags. Really all I can find is 100% recycled plastic, which is somewhat better, but it's still a plastic bag that ultimately is going to be torn open and thrown away. With the poly mailers that we ship things in, we've found compostable bags that we've been using, and those have been pretty good. But I am starting to hear rumblings of that, like they maybe oversold it a little bit, that they have to be, industrially composted to work correctly.
Industrial composting is different than your own. However, it is interesting if you go to the Ink Kitchen and you search. What's his name from in New Orleans? Brandon Leonard. He actually took a bunch of bags and over a 6-month period composted them to see what would happen. And some of them did disintegrate and were gone. And so it was kind of interesting that he actually tried it.
There's companies here in the States that like you can order like custom-made poly mailers that are compostable, non-compostable ones. We've also, we ship so much stuff that we've ordered bulk from overseas a number of times. So, I mean, there's definitely options, but you just have to be careful with the language that you're using because you don't want to say something is recyclable when it's actually not. But in general, it's like, I mean, everything we're producing is, or doing with fulfillment, whether it's the packaging or even the way that it's being transported, it's very wasteful in many, many ways. I haven't figured out a way around it.
We use paper. Are those recycled or recyclable? I think they are recycled paper mailers for single shirts. I think you can get a couple of shirts in there. We like to order from a company called Eco Enclose, and they offer a really wide variety. They offer 100% recycled materials. They offer compostable material mailers, and they also have a lot of information on their site about how to decide which ones to use and which, depending on what your criteria are, which are actually the most sustainable.
I think what's great about them, they're super transparent. They go through the details. I mean, there's things that you don't think about. I mean, how much does it cost and what's the carbon footprint of the transporting of those bags to you from their facility? I mean, that's part of it. And so we use ones also that have, they can be used twice. They have double adhesive on them, so the person that receives it can use it to send it back, use it to send something else, and it does work. So I think that's been an improvement, although I wouldn't say it's great. It's not like you feel all warm and great about it, but it's better than just a crappy plastic bag that was made from virgin plastic and gets thrown out, that's for sure.
One thing we ask all of our packaging companies that we order from, whether it's cardboard or polyester or whatever it is that it's all recycled. A lot of them are already doing that anyway. I think that there's some requirements, and like Eric said, it sucks either way.
And let's face it too, it's like, I mean, all of us would love to use eco-friendly material, but the cost and then the viability, those are two very big factors. I mean, if we could find, our poly bags now we buy in such large quantity, they're literally a penny each. And I quoted out some stuff from Eco Enclosed, I think they were 13 cents. And when you're shipping out 100,000 packages a year, that really starts to add up, especially when there's not really any added value for our customers, that gets really tricky.
Because for ours, there is an added value for our customers. We have the type of organization where, they're a sustainable energy organization. They're really happy that we're using that, and they're willing to pay more for it.
One thing, my wife has a business where she does a lot of mail order stuff, and for hers it doesn't matter as much what the look of the packaging going out is, but she actually, anything that comes into our house, any packaging that comes into our house, she reuses that to mail everything back out, which is super rad, I think.
You know, they are getting better about some stuff. I mean, when you have a huge fulfillment business, I wouldn't say ours is huge, but ours is just, modest. Just the backing of all the labels, it's like bags and bags of trash. And now Eco Enclose has printable mail labels that you can recycle that backing. And that is really like negligible cost. Some of these things don't cost as much. I actually priced out a fulfillment project for a big mill, and they were going to spend on the whole project about $150,000 to $200,000, and to have it like very ecological, not perfect, mind you, but way better, was going to cost maybe like $1,500. You know what I mean? In the scale of the project for a company like that, it's really nothing. Anything else you want to say before I open it up to questions? All right. Questions about fulfillment or online stores?
Older gentleman in the back? I'm just kidding. Sorry.
All right, so the question is, when you're writing up a service agreement with your customer, is there a template, or do you make it up custom every time?
A what?
For us, when we started, it was literally every customer was different. And now we're trying to back that up and streamline it a lot more. We also kind of have like a set type of deal we want to use moving forward. So when we onboard new customers, we already sort of have the talking points. Every company that we work with is a little bit different, just because if we're working with a record label is selling direct to consumer, but they also might be selling to a record store or a distribution center, which is going to be a little bit different than when we're working with a band that's just selling their tees direct to consumer. So there are certain considerations we have when we're building our contracts, just sort of based off of the industry that they're in, because we recognize, like a record label, for instance, if you're selling a vinyl record if you're going on a store and buying it for $20 on their store, that's different than someone that's going and buying 200 copies that's then distributing them across the country. So we're trying to be a good partner, and we have different percentage levels for kind of each of these deals that they fall into.
Yeah, we have a standard agreement, but like Eric said, there is those situations where, for a clothing line or something that's only selling online to a direct customer, and then we're shipping one or a couple shirts to each customer, that's one thing. But when you're shipping into big box retail, half of the stuff, and then sometimes you're shipping one or two shirts, you got to have two completely different agreements, and that gets a little bit more complicated, especially when big box retail requires some special packaging methods and that type of thing. So you kind of have to write two agreements for that, which requires a little bit of non-standardization.
We do have some formal agreements with some of the larger organizations we work with, but a lot of it is phone calls and emails and informal understandings, and that seems to work out okay so far.
Understandings and misunderstandings. It's way more complicated, I think, than we imagined.
There's a lot of nuances that every customer kind of brings and has their own special challenges and difficulties that you have to really try and weed out. And then the other thing too is not everyone wants to fit to your boilerplate deal, which that's a little difficult to navigate sometimes too, because all those things are typically there for everyone's protection, or even just for our shop, we have specific things or specific ways we want things done, because it makes it easier for us to help sell for our customer.
Or who builds the store? That's like the other big thing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I just think we've found that there's a lot of things we can do, and in isolation, if you say, can you do this? Can you supply to our retail store with barcodes? Can you, send out things within a certain amount of time? You can agree to any of it, but then in aggregate, when you start having a lot of stores, it gets unwieldy and very difficult to keep everybody happy.
And as those scale, if you don't have uniform sort of deals, and then your staff doesn't necessarily know what to do. Do I pack this order differently than I have to pack this one? Does this order get thrown in items like stickers and postcards, that uniformity starts to create confusion, and that it leads to errors.
And you don't do direct shirt printing, right?
No.
So if you have digital printing, then you also have like certain blanks that are used for certain designs, and maybe it's no big deal if somebody wants you to use Bella versus Haynes or something, but try sending a non-union shirt to a union and seeing what happens. So it gets really complicated, and staff in particular have a hard time understanding some of that.
I'd like to give a whole seminar sometime on the worst fulfillment customer ever. We did a
Why are you looking at
branding. We had a branding project for this customer that wanted to start a clothing line, and then they shot down all of our branding options, and then they designed their own brand in like Microsoft Word. And then
I don't know. It sounds like they did better.
They came up with like all these terrible shirt designs. They spent like 10 grand on printing. They set up their own online store because they didn't like our product photos. They launched their store and they sold, guess how many shirts they sold? 0. Not even to like one of their family members.
Well, that's funny because we have, want to call them the best one. We printed all their stuff, they paid for it, it's inventory, it's not on-demand printing. It's a line, it looks kind of interesting. I don't know if they didn't promote it or people didn't like it. They sold about 5 shirts maybe, and then I was like, pretty quickly, like, you're gonna have to pay storage or take these back. I'm sorry, they're really nice people. They're like, no, we'll pay monthly. So they sit on a pallet in my place and they pay a monthly fee, and we never send any out. And they're happy with that. I guess they just want to say they have a line. I don't know. It's really weird.
I'm a business owner.
Yeah, you had a question here? All right, this is a very good question, actually. So the question is, if you have a band or other customer, do they pay in advance for the materials that you're going to ship out for them?
It's a whole separate process for us. So fulfillment and production are 2 separate things. Even if we do them together, it doesn't matter. There's separate processes and billing cycles and structures altogether. So yeah, we get.
All right, so the question is, so for example, sorry, just so everybody can hear it. If you print it for $10 and sell it for $15, and get fulfillment, how's that deal work?
So for us, all of our stores are slightly different, but we take a little bit of a different approach. We take more of a 3PL solution, meaning that like our customers set everything. They're in charge of it. There's no risk to us, which is why we charge upfront for our production. So we make things, and then it moves into a fulfillment cycle, and then whatever that sells or however many pieces we ship out, that's invoiced at the end of the month.
So they paid for all the inventory,
Yep.
whether it's you printed it or they sent in
We
a bunch
assume
of record
no
albums.
risk on it. If somebody wants to do something and they want us to assume a risk, that's a hard no, because we don't know their fan base. We don't know what they're doing. They need to be masters of that. We need to be masters of printing T-shirts and packing them up and shipping them out. I don't want to get into marketing, and I don't want to
All right,
co-brand stuff.
All right, then I'll add on to that question. Do you pay for storage? Do they pay for storage?
We didn't do that for a while, but now we're starting to. Because as I mentioned earlier, with fulfillment, the worst thing is that you need space to scale. Does anybody else have CDs from festivals in their warehouse from 2004? Because we have pallets of them if anybody wants them. And so when it comes to that, our customers have flat out told us just destroy them. We don't want anything to do with them. We have other customers that are caught up in lawsuits, and we have pallets of merchandise that they're sitting in storage containers, and like they pay for that because it's like we can't do anything, but they can't either. But we shouldn't be penalized for that. And that's all part of like having good conversations with your customers and being partners with them.
Yeah, I think even in that situation, we've run out of space in our facility. So there's a storage facility
We have
next
like
door.
3 spaces right now.
And
yeah.
so we had to go rent storage spaces at a storage facility. It's like, wait a minute, if we're having to pay for storage space for our customers' pallets of merch, they need to be paying for that. You know?
Or like another situation that's happened because of the pandemic, it's like we have customers that we do fulfillment for that were on tour, and they started a 2-month-long tour, and after the first show, the whole thing got canceled. So we have pallets and pallets of like old tour merch that really it's like, what are they going to do? I mean, they can only sell so much online. So that's been a big thing for us while we're redoing all of our fulfillment storage right now. We're trying to tell them, like, get it out of here.
Have you ever lit it on fire and claimed insurance?
No, but we took a shirt that we printed and printed over it only for that tour to get canceled too. So that's something that we have to figure out when I get back.
We had some merchandise destroyed. I'll just tell this story because it's unbelievable. In front of our building, a Dodge Durango came like Dukes of Hazzard, hit a wall, flew in the air over a car, and smashed into my building, doing $250,000 of damage, breaking bricks everywhere, through a brick wall, triple brick wall, setting the sprinklers off, and it ruined some stuff. I wouldn't advise it as a way to move merchandise and get it paid.
I bet
for.
it
but
looked
they
cool
also
though.
wrecked those pallet of old shirts.
Yes, it did get the right things wet anyway. So, Pam, what do you do?
About
And who pays for the stuff?
We run our situation a little differently because we're dealing with the whole doing good merch concept is we take care of the merch so that the organizations can focus on their mission and not be merch specialists. So we do a quarterly reconciliation. We build the stores and we take in the money, and then we do a payout quarterly to the organizations based on what we've agreed upon. So it's pretty great. We're not ever chasing anybody down for a payment.
Yeah, I mean, the good parts of that are that we take a higher percentage, I think, than most people would. The bad thing is if they refuse to market things, then nothing moves. So that would be the bad side. But at least it's probably an honest thing that they know they're not business people, so they hire us to do it. Whereas you probably have band people that think they're business people, and that must be a nightmare.
Well, and just like trying to fire bad customers, trying to fire bad fulfillment customers is sometimes even harder because they don't want that merchandise back either.
I know that Jack Prince Indie Merch, they would offer to donate it. Like if it came to like you either pay for storage or take it back and pay for that, or pay them and they donate it.
Firing a fulfillment customer is like eviction.
It's so difficult.
Yeah, you and then you.
Say, for example, you have like a franchise with 50 franchises, right? You make money instead of the company store,
Right.
what's your standard fee?
Okay, so what's the standard fee? Like, say you had a franchise. Yeah, and fit with 50 outlets, and you're going to fulfill to all of them. What kind of fee would you charge?
I mean, it's just like screen printing, right? Everything is customizable for your shop. So I mean, for us, we don't. I mean, it's all percentage based. That way, we're trying to actively partner with our customers. We want to basically share in their profits, but they're like sharing in our hard work too. So that's how we do it. I know some other folks just have like flat fees. Other folks, have much like a web design, like they have a fee for that too. It really just depends on how you want to work with your customer.
We do charge some setup fees. We offer the option. You can build the store. It's still going to cost X amount of dollars for us to hook it up for the back end and whatnot. Almost all of them choose to have us build it because, again, it's not what's in their wheelhouse. And then we do charge some monthly maintenance fees to customers because we also handle customer service. And so just to cover any additional expenses for stuff like that.
I mean, to give an actual figure, sort of like you're not a super high volume, not super popular thing, and we do a store from them, we'll only give them 10% of the proceeds. And that's not super lucrative, honestly. But that's sort of the lowest level, if I can. And the highest level is maybe we give like $10 on a $25 shirt, something like that. And that's usually because we're doing on-demand printing, though, which is more expensive. They're not paying for inventory up front.
We have situations where, like you're talking, like a restaurant that has a lot of locations where they're paying for all the merch up front, right? We're warehousing it for them, and as their locations go to order uniforms or whatever they're ordering or merchandise, they say, okay, I need 30 shirts for this store or whatever, and then we're going to charge them whatever amount that we've agreed to. Maybe it's like, hey, for something like that, we say if we're going to pull whatever amount will fit into this size box costs $20 to pull, and so we're charging a shelf fee, like a monthly shelf fee. So that shelf fee might be $50 a month, and then every time we have to go pull an order, we're going to charge you $20, or just something erroneous like that.
What you can do too is you can call around to like different 3PL places and see what they charge. You'll be amazed at how expensive it is and how they run things. Even Shopify, they have their own warehouses now that they're storing and shipping stuff. And that's, you really want to get a good gauge, talk to people that are doing it professionally that have hundreds of thousands of square feet and have systems dialed better than any of us ever will. They'll give you ideas.
I think it also matters what your own situation is. We had underutilized space in our building, so maybe storage wasn't as critical to get money for as the actual picking or something like that. Anything else about that? You had a question here?
Thanks, Rick. I got a couple actually. So for each of you guys that are running stores, like how many SKUs are you managing? And then from those,
I can tell you already too many.
Too many.
But go ahead.
Orders at 100,000, like, and then out of those SKUs, how many daily individual orders are you filling?
Okay, so the question is, how many SKUs are you managing and how many daily orders are going out?
Thousands of SKUs, for sure, maybe 10,000, 10 to 15,000. How are we managing? We rely a lot on ourselves and the people who are working with us to memorize what's what.
And no, we're not
It's
robots
not
and
good.
barcodes.
It's
It's not
not
great.
good.
It kind of, you don't have the money for the expensive system when you start, and so it kind of grows on you, and then you realize, oh shit, I better do something, because we're just fucked. It's Christmas time, and we can't send all these orders out. Sorry, that's really like the way it is.
It's really like the folks who are working in fulfillment, it's like the people who are packing the orders are also the person who is overseeing the production of the direct-to-garment stuff. So a lot of times I'm just like, pull up the website on a store because I'll get a question like, which shirt is it? I'm not sure if it goes on the red shirt or the black shirt. I'm just like, look at the store. Whatever the image is in the store with that title, that's what we need to send out. And then also having that coordinated on the end with the DTG printer, we need to make sure that the files in that system, which are separate from the images in the store, are all named the same name, because you can't have your production person calling it one thing and your person doing fulfillment calling it something else.
We have about 15,000 SKUs. We ship about 500 to 1,500 packages a day, anything from single t-shirts to, multi-record order things. But this is where I was talking about technology, warehouse management systems, inventory systems, not only just so we can kind of understand what we have, but it's so our customers know what we have. It's so our picker and packers know where things are. And it's so when people are packing it, they can verify that they're actually packing the right thing. We have so many SKUs that are the same design on a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, and a long sleeve shirt. Before barcoding, before proper SKU identification, the picker has no clue. Yes, you can tell a sweatshirt is thicker than a t-shirt, right? But at least I hope
you
can.
would think they could.
I hope
but
you can.
Not always.
But how that leads to so many errors when you're not organized, when you don't have those SKUs clearly identifiable for your pickers. And it's like we talked about earlier, that one problem, you pick a long sleeve instead of a short sleeve, now you have to get that product back, you have to return it, customer's unhappy, ultimately your customer finds out and becomes unhappy with you. So it's just this cycle that you have to spend a lot of time building processes and a lot of time building systems to help fix.
I think the aisle location, bin number, all that, we're screen printers. We need to stop thinking like screen printers, and that's the biggest problem with our industry is we don't think like other industries. And you could go into any other warehouse in any other industry, and everything is super organized, and there's all this great software and all this, and you go into a screen printing shop and things are messy and everything is everywhere and there's lint, and it's just like, this looks ridiculous. So yeah, just organization goes a long way. Probably if you walk into a really organized screen printing shop, they probably make more money than the one that's not organized. It's probably...
You got another question?
So the follow-up to Brad, you kind of touched on it briefly. What are your expectations for your pickers?
Okay, what?
How many orders should a picker be able to fill in an hour? How many SKUs should they be able to pick? And then how do you justify your payroll based on those expectations?
All right, so the question is, what are the expectations of the pickers, and then how do you justify your payroll is, based on that?
So Jeffrey, can you speak on Night Owl's behalf on that? I don't know the answer actually, but I do know that we have spent a lot of time and a lot of money fixing our warehouse so that simple things like picking paths and wave picking is formulated by our inventory and warehouse management system. So our pickers are, optimally and economically going down our aisles and picking things that are right next to one another per each order and organizing it that way instead of one picker going down aisle B and then having to go all the way to aisle F to pick up something. Because with
There's
fulfillment,
actually arguments for either, honestly.
Really?
Having talked to some of the bigger fulfillment places, the great thing about it being next to each other is you can do it faster. The bad thing is it's easier to confuse.
that's fair.
So I was in one long time ago, and it's not there anymore, but Alpha used to have a system at NES where like the small red Fruit of the Looms were not where the medium,
Sure.
so they wouldn't mix them up as easily.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I would say, I think bottom line with fulfillment, it's, you make your profit by how efficient you are. If you're inefficient in any process, you start to lose money. And so I don't know that numbers because I don't actually deal with it from the day to day. I'm very much removed from it in our company, but it is something that, Jeffrey would love to talk to anybody about if they have questions.
So Pam, I know you even pick it yourself. So what's
I
the deal?
benchmark it myself. At points, we're not a huge shop. And at points, I've been the person who has to, somebody's sick, we lose the employee, and the orders still come in. So I go in and pick and pack. And I know when I push myself how many packages I can get out in a day, and then whoever we hire, I tell them what those numbers are as sort of, this is the expectation, and
gotta
that's
set
sort of how I benchmark
benchmarks.
it.
Also, those benchmarks need to be done by product. Shipping a T-shirt versus shipping a vinyl record, way different.
And
Way
depends
different.
on the orders. Like when Farm Aid happens, people are ordering a cowboy hat and a hoodie and stickers and pins and a T-shirt. That order is going to take a lot longer to pack.
Yeah,
than a
when you have
single
decisions
shirt.
about what container, bag, et cetera, that's going to slow you down. If we do fulfillment for people sometimes where it's no more than one of the item, and there's 5,000 of them, and you can just send all the smalls, send all the mediums, and you could have a monkey do that. Just like put a shirt in all these bags. That monkey's done it even. It's
For
fast, right?
those kind of orders, I can do 400 a day.
Yeah, drop shipping orders are definitely way easier than warehouse items for sure.
But it's complicated, man. It's real hard. How you get those metrics costs a lot of money to get the metrics. To do that kind of studying is
See, that's
it's
what I
not
told
cheap.
you.
You know what I mean? It's easy to say, well, you should know these things, but there's an expense and a time to figuring that out. Not to mention it's elusive because the work doesn't seem to stay the same.
Last question.
Last question.
I'll let somebody know.
Okay, so the question is, and I know you have something to say about this. The question is, if there's an error made, who handles the customer service, right? Good question.
We do. I handle all the customer service. It's actually really nice.
Well, used to with Farm Aid not, so how does it work either way?
It's actually, well, it used to be Farm Aid, you know, it's the more steps that go along the line, the longer it takes to get dealt with. And, you know, I have to check with our fulfillment partner and see what happened to your package. But, you know, all those extra emails and steps and phone calls are inefficient. So we just handle it all, and I know what's happening, so it's very easy. I have not had a lot of issues with people who are like, where's my shirt? Or they might be like, where's my shirt? And I'll explain what's going on. People are really happy to get a personalized answer from a real person. I mean, I sign it with my name. I'm reachable. You know, it's not a slick interface for customer service. It's a very personalized customer service, and that doesn't really take up a ton of time, and that seems to work very well for us. People are very happy. They thank you so much. I'm so happy to know, sort of thing.
We do.
Which is actually kind of nice. I don't mind doing that aspect of it.
We do charge more, I would say, in that case, because they want it personal like that. Like that particular customer does not want a rigid policy. That is just, they can't handle that. They don't want us to have a rigid policy, and it costs more not to have a rigid policy. You have to think about everything. Do you want the item back or not? Are they bullshitting you and they just want to get a free thing or whatnot? You know, we have to kind of make those judgment calls. It's not easy, I'll tell you that.
I'd say our customer service is the exact opposite of your experience, Pam, where people are really mean. Really mean. You would think that like we like murdered their children for USPS not delivering their package. So yeah, we build it into most of our deals only because it's sort of like what you said, Pam, where it's such a hassle getting emails from our customers that are forwards with really no context, don't even have any of the order information. We gotta, play, Clue to figure it out. So we include it because it kind of makes our life easier, and also we don't have to deal with like our customer getting frustrated that all these things are coming to them, when really it's like, we probably get, 100 emails a day of people saying, this package, says it was delivered and it's not at my front door. Well, right now what happens with USPS is that they mark it delivered before it actually gets delivered, and then it shows up.
And don't slag them, UPS is no better.
Yeah,
they sign our name that we sign for it now.
Right. But so all these little things that we just don't want to burden our customer with this, and that's why we take it on.
Anything to say there, Buster? Brett?
Brett loves USPS, so I don't know.
It's just really easy. I don't understand why you guys have a hard time.
It is funny though, the expectations are all over the place. There are people that don't get their thing the next day, no matter what you write on that website about it taking 3 weeks. They didn't get it the next day, and it was somebody's birthday, and they're mad at you. And then other people, you take 3 months to get it to them because something goes wrong, and they're like, "Oh, thank you so much." It's like
we seriously require a dedicated U.S. mail pickup van, right, daily, and sometimes it just doesn't come. And sometimes it doesn't come for 2 or 3 days. And so we have to load a trailer and take it to the post office. And when you show up to the post office with a trailer full of mail, they're like, fuck off. And we're like, we have
We're your customer.
thousands of dollars worth of mail postage here for you. And they're like, we don't want it. We're like, well, you're supposed to pick up mail at our place. And they're like, we don't care. And I don't know. I just don't know.
Oh, we have the opposite. We have our mail guy who's been like we've still been jamming shirts in the packages, and the guy's like, it's cool, I'll just wait. And then he's like, how long do you think it's gonna take? 15 minutes. He's like, it's cool, I'll wait.
I buy our mailman, UPS guy, FedEx guy, gift cards. We buy them gifts. We give them water jugs. We give them all kinds of stuff.
I give them beer. Maybe that's the difference.
I'll change it up.
Other questions? Fulfillment, online stores.
That's it. Well, you guys have been a lovely audience, and I mean that. The best audience we've had so far.
And
This
actually,
has been my favorite shop talk that I've done this whole time.
As in today or just in general?
Just today.
All right. So I want to thank Impressions, In Kitchen. Thanks to Pam Mikagami from Doing Good Merch. Thanks to Eric from the Owls of Night. Oh, Night Owls, excuse me. Houston, Texas.
I thought you were going to forget it, so I was ready to jump in.
Yeah, you didn't have to. And Brett Bowden from Printed Threads. How about a hand for all of them? And I want to thank Impressions and our sponsor, Haynes. Thanks for coming. Be around if you want to ask them questions, and we've got more shop talks coming up.